Today, I want to read to you from Isaiah chapter 7 and talk to you about a man who only sounded spiritual. Here we go, Isaiah chapter 7, verses 10, 11, and 12, where we read this. Moreover, the Lord spoke again to Ahaz, saying, Ask a sign for yourself from the Lord your God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, nor will I test the Lord. As Isaiah wrote these words, a dangerous army approached the land of Judah, and King Ahaz had every reason to be concerned. He made every human preparation a king could think of, and he fretted about the arrangements when the armies of the northern kingdom of Israel and Syria came together to attack Judah. Ahaz expressed almost no trust in God, and he even sacrificed his son to the pagan god Moloch. About the only good thing that Ahaz seemed to do was to bring forth another son named Hezekiah, who later became a great and godly ruler of Judah. But when the invading army threatened, Ahaz panicked, and the prophet Isaiah came to encourage the king and to strengthen his faith. In this, God assured King Ahaz that though the armies would attack and damage the kingdom of Judah, Judah would survive by the gracious hand of God. Isaiah offered the king the opportunity to find assurance in God's promise. He virtually dared the king to prove God as trustworthy. Isaiah told Ahaz, Ask a sign for yourself. Through the prophet Isaiah, God invited Ahaz to ask for a sign, challenging the king to believe and be blessed. Now God offered Ahaz to give a basis for belief, a sign for yourself. Now, instead of taking God up on this invitation, Ahaz said, I will not ask, nor will I test the Lord. Now, this sounded very spiritual from Ahaz. He almost seemed to say what Jesus later said in Matthew chapter 4, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. Though the words were similar, the hearts were far apart. Ahaz refused to ask for a sign because if God fulfilled the sign, then Ahaz would be obligated to believe. This was not tempting or testing God in a wrong way. It's never testing God to do what he tells us to do, and if the Lord invites us to test him, we should. For example, in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, the Lord invited Israel to give as he commanded, and thereby prove me now in this, as it says in Malachi 3. The matter of giving proportionally to God and to his work from our resources, well, that's what God told Israel to do. But perhaps Ahaz was bitter against the Lord because all the disaster that Judah had already been through at the hands of Israel and Syria. Perhaps this was his mindset. I want nothing to do with the God who allowed it to get this bad. Whatever his reason was, Ahaz rejected God's invitation, and he found himself poorer because of it. So here's the question. What has God offered you that you have refused? Perhaps there was a very spiritual sounding reason why you refused it. We can be pretty good at thinking up spiritual sounding reasons for going our own way. It's humbling to realize that God sees through our spiritual sounding reasons, and he sees the secret place of the heart. There's no hiding from his searching gaze, and when he offers us something, we can trust that a loving hand is extended to us. Haven't we, in some way, been where King Ahaz was? Haven't we, in some manner, rejected the gracious, free gifts of God, and we've done it for silly and strange reasons? Hey, we should each examine ourselves. Perhaps we have been just as strange and foolish as Ahaz was whenever we refuse some good thing that God has to give us. Listen, receive what God invites you to take today.